Okay, hi everybody. My name's Carl Stover. I'll just do a little bit on introductions of what I do. I'm at Ellsworth High School. I'm actually the agriculture education teacher, so I'm not a core teacher. I'm an elective teacher. So that kind of makes my data analysis a little bit different than a lot of people in the class, which has been kind of fun to see the other side of the coin. So with my data analysis, we actually were a pathway system. So we truthfully, the only data, true like state data we take is like our pathway completers test, which isn't done until they're a senior in high school. So for me, every senior who has finished a pathway, which means they have to take at least 3 courses in that pathway, has to take a test to see whether, where they are on the scale, um, whether they're upper tier, lower tier, or in the middle. We work a lot on state averages for the ag pathway test. I know this last year, my seniors did really well on that test. So just for my content area, that really is the only state testing we do with Ag Ed. Um, Now, I have got on the KISA committee for, the new school certification policy, and I've been learning about a lot of other data collection methods that we do in school. We actually did our first perceptions data collection this year, and I was on that, and we collected from students, parents, community members, and teachers, which was really neat. On that, I've also started looking at our school-wide testing data with state standards testing, and also like map testing and things of that nature. So I guess that's kind of where I am. Um, Overall, I kind of just want to learn more about the school testing data, where KISA is kind of shooting us with our goals and expectations. So, do you guys have any clarifying questions have over, I guess, my statement?
What year are you guys on the, is it called Keisha? Keisha?
Yeah, it's like KESA, KESA. We're
Okay.
actually going on year 3 at Ellsworth. So we had to start setting our data samples this year with that perception data. We're doing um, building cultures in ours, trying to build that relationship piece is our big one that we're hitting on. So that perception data was pretty important for us anyway.
Okay. We do the same program as well. I'm not as familiar with it, but I do believe we are starting our third year.
Hmm.
I think, I'm not quite sure. So it's just interesting to know that other districts are doing them as well.
Yeah, we're doing our certification also in Hayes, and I believe we're starting year 3. It was interesting because my first year teaching, I was at a different elementary school. So I did 1 year of KISA in an elementary school, and then I moved to a different one. So seeing 2 years of the KISA data was interesting.
Yeah.
You're from Hayes, I'm sorry. Caitlin?
Yeah, I'm from Hayes.
So am I.
Very nice.
Okay, so, well, with that kind of KISA piece, I guess my biggest thing that I would like to know is with KISA, we have to work with a lot of different buildings, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm in high school only and junior high, but with the KISA piece, we have to work with elementary schools, middle schools, junior highs, high school, everybody. So I don't know, I would just kind of like to learn more about the different testing standards everybody else has to do, and kind of how that fits into their classroom.
So I am at the elementary school level. I do 5th grade. So our assessments, I feel like all we do is assessments between our STAR reading and STAR math. Our math curriculum actually has a beginning of the year test and end of the year test, as well as our chapter tests. And then reading and writing, there's a handful more of assessments for those. So it's interesting to talk to other teachers at the higher level who don't have to, or not don't have to, but they're not they don't have as many assessments to utilize. I feel like I have so many to utilize that I don't even know where to begin at looking at the assessments. Not like that helps you out with your question.
I think I'm going to be much help on this as well. I've been a para for about 10 years, and I've been a para, I was a para for about like a semester at the elementary level, and then I moved up to the high school, and then now I'm at the middle school. So I really don't work with data a whole lot or even assessments, but just from talking to teachers, I do know quite a bit about it. Like of what they do, not, I haven't really done a whole lot with it, so.
Well, it kind of sounds
Do you
like...
help? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you help administer a lot of the assessments? I know my 5th grade team, we have a para that we share across the classrooms, and when we give assessments, the para is usually pulling like 10 of my students to help read them the assessments. Are you doing a lot of that, or?
Not really. I'm mostly just monitoring, making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And especially with the higher grade level, where we don't have to or read it to them. They have to, the accommodations for some students, we have very little that require reading. So it's just more monitoring in class as they're doing the assessment.
Gotcha.
So I know it sounds like we've got a lot of different places everybody's at, which is kind of cool, kind of neat to hear about. I know with me at the high school level, I don't have to give that many, state testing, which sounds like elementary reading everybody's stuff. It's like everybody at elementary is like, we're testing all the time. And at the high school level, I know with our English, our math, kind of our core teachers, they have tons of state testing, but also MAP testing as well. I know as an administrator, I guess one of the things that worries me is like trying to find a balance between all the testing versus like actual content learning time. Because one of the places at Ellsworth that we're finding that is kind of lacking is actually those soft skills with our students and that relationship building, being able to communicate with one another. A lot of times our students actually test all right, but that communication and soft skills piece has been a spot that's been weak for us.
Yeah, I can agree. At the elementary school level, this last year, we've thought about different ways to work in just like a social and emotional curriculum. That way the students could work on being a student and how to interact with other students. And yeah, I can agree. I see the same thing at our level too.
Is there a way at the elementary school that you're like charting like how they're progressing on that social emotional for kind of like a data collection part?
We actually haven't adopted any curriculum yet. That's something that we talked about with the accreditation, just building the community. I know this last year we talked about working in like a house system. So I would be like a team teacher to a group of kids from each of the grade levels. So within my 5th grade room for 30 minutes each day or however long we would decide, I would have a handful of kids from every grade level. And then as that class, they would work on building relationships and going over that social and emotional curriculum. But whereas we haven't adapted any curriculum yet and we haven't started that process, I don't know how we would track their progress. That's just something that we're trying to get going for the future.
Awesome.
I'm going to go off a little bit off of Caitlin. So at the middle school level, on the social and emotional program, they're starting it next year, this coming August. So at the middle school level, they're actually going to, they call it TA, which is pretty much the beginning of school that they have like 30 minutes they do different games and programs, and then we introduce different stuff during that time. For next year, we're going to be using about 20 minutes of that time to introduce that social and emotional program to the students, and then they're actually going to implement like of how to use it for the middle school. But like Caitlin said, we haven't started the program yet.
Yeah, I think all of us sound like we're right on the same spot on KISA, so everything's like in the thought process, startup process. Well, I guess we can go ahead and summarize up for mine. Is that a correct assumption?
Yep.
Okay, so then some of the things I thought were pretty interesting is just where you guys were at and how similar we were in our KISA kind of paths. Some data things that we're interested in is like all of our schools seem to be really trying to find ways to track and monitor, collect data over that social, emotional, and relationship building piece. Kind of sounds like all of our schools are on that track of how do we get soft skills in our students and how do we track that our students are actually getting them or not. So that was probably the most interesting thing to me, and I guess that's it.